Yes, I did. Open up the window. Mm, yeah. Okay. About to go live. Okay, enter. Yo, what's up? We about to get started in a moment. I'm just getting everything setting up and wait for a couple more people. Boom, 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 boom. Let me see. Boop. And boop. Okay, let's get it rolling. How y'all feeling today? Okay, we're about to get ready to jump right into it, and I'm going to skip it boop. Oh, wait. So if somebody else come in, oh, hang on. Oh, good. All right, all right. Getting it started. Okay, back to me. Oh, goodness. Go to the name and okay. You gotta turn yours down. Okay. All right. Boom. Here we go. And where is the other? Boom. Okay. Let's go ahead and get it cracking. This is the Wealth and Wellness webinar. We go here, transform your life through mindfulness. So, your host, Economic Bay, and I'm going to go through a better introduction. I just wanted to get that out the way because I had that on the screen. But so I'm Corey D, the energy coach known as Bay, and I just want to personally welcome you to the Wealth and Wellness webinar. Now, I know that originally how it was said, it was five things that's ruining your life right now and ways that you can combat it. But those five things are really just one thing. It's one thing and it branches out and affects other parts of your life, like a cancer. So by being aware of this thing you can stop so much issues from actually happening. So boom, 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 boom. We're going to jump right into this. Da-da-da-da-da. Whenever I'm in my financial mode, I turn into economic bay. So that's what you're dealing with right now. I'm going to deliver some good, prosperous gain. Good vibes, good vibes. And it's not just a monetary thing what we're about to go over. It's going to be about all aspects of life, but it will dive heavy into economics and finances, especially with what's happening right now. Because I have been in the financial and economic world for the last 5 years consistently, I'm still learning a lot, but I have become very seasoned and familiar with how things used to work on the back end compared to where we are heading now. Now, as much as I've learned about finances and economics, my background is really in the medical field, and I specialize in holistic health or holistic healing and mental health, which I've been doing for over 10 years. And my real passion, which some of you know, is the energy work and spiritual growth. Um, which is something that I have been doing around 20 years now. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long time. Been around 20 years. And that's why we are here at the Energy Tribal Ministries. We're doing this on this little shindig to help raise the collective consciousness in a few different areas. So, disclaimer, I have to read this just to make sure y'all know. I am not here to give you any professional advice. I am not a licensed lawyer, attorney, doctor, financial advisor, or anything else. I am a spiritual wellness consultant and I consider everyone on here friends. So I am going to be giving you my personal opinions based on my experiences. And it's all for the F. And I'm going to be telling you what I'm doing and how I'm moving based on my choices and the things that I know, researched, and came across in my, again, personal experiences. All for the F, all for free. So let's go ahead. Boom, 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 boom. Crack it open. All right. About your guy, extensive experience. 17 plus years as a mindfulness practitioner. A little bit more than there, but yeah, let's stick with the 17 years plus as a mindfulness practitioner with specialized training. I have guided over 500 clients to reclaim their personal power and just find that inner joy, which is how we get the inner G, because it's your inner goodness or your inner God. You know, this is a lot about personal transformation, as it says. So, with some of these practices, you will be able to overcome significant psychological, social, and financial crisis using some techniques. I've had 15 years plus helping others transform their life in multiple situations and from multiple backgrounds. So, I'm hoping that some of this information will also be able to help you guys. And do 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 do. Bum 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 bum. So, we're gonna hurry up and blast through this. I'm not gonna keep y'all on here all night. This will be something that will be happening bi-weekly, but it's not gonna be a long period. We're gonna go through the information for a little bit, then give a little bit of time for some question and answers. Then we out of here. So, starting off with relationships. Now, I want you to be aware this is around mindfulness, but be aware of what the information is going to get into. So be open-minded. It may be some stuff you have heard of, it may be some stuff you haven't heard of, but just try to keep an open mind, just attempt to keep an open mind. So let's start off with relationships. Now, when most people think about relationships, they think about their lover or just, the person that they're intimate with. Um, but it extends to everything. This includes your family, your children, your lovers, your friends, your peers, your coworkers, your cats, your dogs, animals, anything, even nature that you come in contact with, because you are establishing a connection and you are establishing a rapport. You're building something with somebody or something. So be mindful how you view and act on these things when it comes to relationships, and also be mindful of how you set your attentions from the jump, with people and also the intentions and foundation that they're setting as well. So let's go ahead and start off. First thing when it comes to being mindful about relationships is knowing yourself. You got to know yourself, and it's not just knowing the mundane things or the simple things as far as like things that you like. Yeah, those are important, but you got to really know yourself, know your habits, know your patterns, know your barriers, know the way your health is. Being mindful of relationships is not just being mindful of the exterior relationships that you have with people, but also the interior relationships that you have. With yourself. That's the most important thing. If you can't find no love in yourself, it's going to be hard to have love for someone else. And also, if you don't love yourself, it may be hard for others to love you. So, self-love is the foundation. Know yourself, know how you operate. Now, once you get to know yourself, you want to become aware of your emotions, emotional awareness. These reveal unconscious patterns affecting your relationships. Now, again, this is not just exterior relationships with your family, friends, children, lovers, but also the relationships that you have with yourself. Like the little talks that you have when you're by yourself, in the mirror, or the thoughts that pop up in your head 24/7. You have to start to be mindful of the messages and the dialogue that you're having with yourself so you can change the narrative and improve. A lot of people have a negative self-destructive mentality. Um, and with that mentality, it replays in their brain like a loop, and sometimes it's hurtful. It does a lot of harm to them on the subconscious level. So be aware of that. Um, yeah, definitely be aware of that. Be aware of how those things work. Now, after you move on from the emotional awareness, you want to start establishing communication. Like I was just saying, this is internal and external. The dialogue or the conversation that you have with yourself, it extends outward. So when you start being able to hype yourself up and talk positively to yourself and really be able to juice yourself and you're not lying to yourself. Really find the good traits, find the things that you really enjoy, you genuinely like about yourself, the things that you love about yourself, and start to reflect on that. Reflect on it, set it, and then build on it. Grow, find other things, and you take that same approach to your relationships externally. Whether it be with your parents, your children, again, your lovers, your friends, your coworkers, your peers outside, your neighbors, your animals, your nature, just in general. Be mindful of the words that you are using and the words that you are sending to others because the message can be quite powerful, especially when it comes to building and connecting. And um, it's not just a verbal message as well. Body language it speaks as well. A lot of the subtle things, So be mindful of these things. Now, again, I love how it just flows so nicely because that comes into critical thinking, which is next. Being mindful about your intentions moving forward. So you want to be mindful and be aware of the things that you are um, establishing with people, the connections that you're making, and be aware of what they are trying to establish and connect with you. That definitely will help. So now we're going to move on to the next section. And we'll have a video for you guys, but we're talking about financial mindfulness. So, financial mindfulness is dealing a lot with your awareness around finances and economics. So I'm gonna go through this first, and then I'm going to play a video to respond and give a better visual of what I'm talking about. Your money beliefs. So a money belief assessment. You have to identify the patterns that are holding you back, establish new patterns, and move forward or to move forward. Um, this has been one of my challenges in life, especially when I was younger, as far as the belief that I had around money. And I'm going to dive into it a little bit later on a deeper level. But I didn't see money as a good thing. I grew up in a Christian household, and if you grew up in a Christian household, then you already know when it comes to the Bible, there's a lot of references or a lot of viewpoints with Christianity around negative things with money. Money, the famous line of money being the root of all evil. But that's not true. Money is just a tool. It's neutral. It has no preference or opinion about you or anyone else. So anything that someone does is because it's their own personal choice to do it about money. Money didn't make them do anything. People do it themselves, and people choose to do good with money or they choose to do bad with money. It's all about the person. So you need to identify the patterns that you have and how you use and how you feel about money because it is a tool to be used. And also knowing what money is at its root, like knowing what it is, how it got started and established, know what the purpose of it was, because just to give a little quick out there point, a lot of people think that this dollar bill, well, let me show you an example. They think that this is money, and if you read it, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I hope that it shows it. Money, money, money. Well, it says at the top that this is a Federal Reserve note. It's used as legal tender. So technically, this is monopoly money. This is monopoly money. The only thing that is really classified as money is gold and silver. Gold and silver, gold and silver. Uh, that is really money. This we use as a IOU to substitute. It's a promissory note or a note to pay. Like another type of note would be a note, a car note, or a mortgage, or a Laudio title, what it used to be, but it's a note. It's basically it's a representation of a certain amount. That's what this paper, this fiat reserve is. So you have to know what money is before you start to really be able to get money and really be able to use money how it's meant to be used. So now moving on from that, we have wealth goals, talking about using money and how it's supposed to be used. You got to creating a plan for what you want to maintain. So see what you want in your life. Like you could be as wild or as vague about it. Have a micro and a macro. Have a short term, something that is closer, that you can hit in a short period of time, and have something that's macro, your long term goal. And have it outlined. Have what do you want, because you are entitled to have whatever you want if you're willing to put in the work and dedication to get it. And plan and network and build upon those goals and those dreams. And so, but you have to know what it is before you even are able to go for it. So make sure that you have a plan for what you want and how to use these monetary tools, like money. Money is a tool, or the fiat currency of that we call money. It's a tool for exchange. Using credit lines. It's a tool. Using revolving lines or trade lines is a tool. Your credit cards, tools. Um, Cryptocurrency, different tool. Gold and silver, it's a tool, but it holds its weight. Gold and silver is actually extremely important because it has more than just a store of value. It has real value that is used with technology and machines. That's also what gives its value, because it's a use case. So that's another thing to keep in mind when it comes to these different monetary tools, the use cases that they have. If you are into doing business, you know about when you have to establish your business credit compared to your personal credit. Um, and it's many things that go with it after you establish your personal credit in this a good way, and you start to do business credit. You can do DBAs, you can get LLCs, you can do nonprofits if you want to get into nonprofits. But for profit, share corporations, holding corporations, trust, and C corps. They all have different purposes because they're all different tools in the monetary financial system. So knowing about these things and knowing how it works is what you need to be mindful of. Next thing you want to be mindful of is mindful spending. Save and grow significantly through conscious financial choices. So, what are you putting your money into? The reason why I highlight heavy on gold and silver, I love silver. I'm a silver bug. I got a lot more. I love silver. Like, I don't know why I always point to over there, but they usually come and little cases like this, silver rounds, silver ounces, they're around $34 spot right now. Probably was around 20, mid 20s when I first started getting into collecting silver like 4 or 5 years ago. Gold, on the other hand, has increased significantly. This is a gold ounce, maybe it was around 2100 when I got it. Now the price is around 3400. So whatever you're putting your money into, make sure that it's working for you long term. And it goes for other assets, whether it's digital assets like cryptocurrencies or um, other types of digital assets, stocks, bonds, different things like that, but also real tangible assets like real estate and land, especially land. That's like land. Get land. That's one of the best things you can do. Land, gold, silver, tangible things, things that you can actually hold. Now, it does cost to maintain those things, but it's worth it because it increases over time. So be mindful of your spending. Don't just blow your money because um, if you are aware of economics or finances, you know that our money right now is different to what it used to be a couple of years ago. It's not the same. It's not the same value. It doesn't hold the same amount of weight due to inflation and the power of the dollar corroding. We've lost around 99 or 97% of its purchasing power. So that basically means what you got maybe in 1971 is completely different what you're getting right now for the same dollar, $5, $10, $20, $100, and so on and so on. So you have to be mindful of how the economy is working and where things is going, so you can get the best bang for your buck, but also so you're not put in a consistent survival mode, because things are going to get rougher as time moves forward. But if you're aware and you're moving with the shift and putting money into assets, then you'll be doing pretty good. You'll be doing a whole lot better than most. So that comes with the last point, a capitalist mentality. Go learn how the money games works. Really learn how money works. Not what your parents do, not what, like you've seen on social media, but really research, really learn how money, finances, banking, all of these things work. You need help, reach out. I got you. Now I'm going to go to a video to dive a little bit deeper into what I was saying. Do, 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 do. Okay. So boom. Just Mark. People think this is Mark Moss. He be having a lot of good information. So let's let him talk. Expensive compared to what? We'll compare. Wait, is skirt. Okay. So he said Bitcoin being expensive compared to what? But just listen to what he's saying. I'm going to do a little breakdown in between, but most of the time I'm just going to let it roll. It's not going to be a long video, just a little bit. Okay, so we're talking about in these sections, because I don't know if you can see it. Bitcoin, gold, collectibles, equities, real estate, bonds, and the money supply or the M2 money supply. So let's let my guy Mark Moss cook real quick. Compared to where it was, but what about where it's going? Well, this is a projection of basically what we call store of value assets. The governments keep printing money, the debt system continues to expand, the wealth of the world continues to expand, and where does it go? Well, we typically hold it in money, we park it in bonds, real estate, equities, collectibles, gold, and Bitcoin. This basket in 2020 was worth about $850
trillion. By 2030, it will be worth about 1.7 quadrillion dollars based off.
Let me just pause that. 1.2 or $1.679 trillion. Like, can you imagine like how much that really is? And when it comes to the financial game, as far as the money printing, it's inflated, it's fake numbers, but the wealth is actually real wealth and it's real assets, but the numbers are, they're interchangeable, it's manipulatable. But the value is based on like actuality, like concrete things. So again, Bitcoin, gold, collectibles, equities, real estate, bonds, and money. Again, when money would break down into multiple categories, like I was saying earlier, it's not just the fiat currency of what people think it is. When you think about money, think about bonds or think about the things that's tied to the bonds. Think about the promissory notes itself because the note is what is built for the bond. The bond is what is tied to the note that gives its value. And when it comes to these notes, they come in different forms. Promissory notes could be the currencies that we use, birth certificates, marriage certificates, license, different types of car notes, mortgages, a note for a plane or a jet for a private jet. Everything that has that receipt is a note for, which is something that can be traded on the financial level. So just wanted to touch into that. Let my guy continue.
What the government projects that they'll continue to expand the monetary system through debt and deficit spending. Now, when this goes up, each one of these real estate goes up, stocks go up, collectibles go up, and Bitcoin goes up as well. What we're trying to predict is what percentage of that basket could Bitcoin get? Well, if Bitcoin could get only 1% of the basket, that would put it on par with gold right here at about $21 trillion or $1 million per Bitcoin.
Now, that's significant. Be mindful of what he just said. If it gets on the same level as gold, Bitcoin will be worth $1 million per coin. Right now, it's currently sitting around 101, 100,000, maybe 101,000 per coin. Around 2, 3 years ago, it dropped back down to 16,000 per coin. Around, I think, 2020 or February or March, it was below 3,000 a coin, and so on, because it hasn't been around that long. The reason why Bitcoin is important is because it's the newest asset class. We haven't had a new asset class in over 100 years. So you have to be mindful. Now, I think it wasn't over, yeah, around 100 years besides the establishment of real estate, which was maybe around 60, 70 years ago, but it wasn't really rolling to 60, 70 years ago. So Bitcoin being the newest asset class, it's a store of value, and like gold stores value, Bitcoin stores value, but the difference is Bitcoin stores data. So that's important because we are going into a uh technical future unless the sun cuts everything off. We're going into a very technical future. So data is going to be important. Let's let the guy finish cooking.
Broken this down into way more math if you want to see it. We'll link to that video down below if you want to go ahead and watch that. But we believe that it can get to at least 1% of that basket by 2030, putting on pace for $1 million per Bitcoin. So while that sounds good, that's about a 10x from here. We understand that's barely even scratching the surface. So what's bigger than that? What's bigger than Bitcoin? Well, just like the micro.
Okay, so this part is important because again, Bitcoin is a store of value. It's the data, but the Bitcoin itself is not the main factor. It's what will be used off of the Bitcoin foundation, what will be created off of that. So really pay attention to this part because you will have a better idea in being mindful of the direction of where things is going financially and economically in our world right now.
Processor created Intel, and then Intel created computers like Apple, and then they created software like Microsoft, and created all the internet companies that we have today. We understand that Bitcoin is creating an entire ecosystem. So if you think about Bitcoin as a commodity or like an asset, sort of like oil, oil is a commodity or an asset. And while the price hovers around $60 or $80 a barrel, there's an entire oil industry or ecosystem built around it that just happens to be the eighth largest industry in the world, valued at almost $5 trillion. So we have a commodity that's price ranges building an entire industry. And that's what we're talking about. So we have Bitcoin going up, but we have these new Bitcoin treasury companies, and we have the entire Bitcoin ecosystem. Bitcoin treasury companies are companies like MicroStrategy that are levering up their balance sheet to grow their stock or their Bitcoin per share. Companies like MetaPlanet that are doing the same thing. And these are moving 3 times, 5 times, some of them even 10 times faster than Bitcoin. If you want to know more about how to find these companies specifically, I'm going to do a whole.
Okay, so we're gonna move on from there, but I just wanted y'all to really be mindful of where things is going because that's what this is all about. It's about being mindful. You got to be mindful of where things are going on a micro and macro level because you are a part of this world, whether you want to, participate in it or not, you are. And you got to play this game. As long as you have to spend money and have to get money, you're playing this game. So it's best that you learn what the game is and learn how to play correctly so you can actually do good. And this is important to me because the more of us that are playing correctly, the better it is as a unit, which increases the environment. If everybody is winning, then it's easier to help those who may not be catching up instead of it being the opposite of like how it is currently, where it's a small percentage of people winning and everybody else is struggling. Got to change the narrative. And the narrative changes with the information and being mindful of how to use that information. So now we're going to move on. Trauma, being mindful of healing trauma and shadow work. Now, we're going to talk about exploring the trauma and identifying pain points. Earlier, I was saying how financial issues or being mindful of financial processes or just finances in general was one of my issues when I was little, when I was younger. And it affected me for a long time on a psychological level because I had a lot of trauma around finances. And it wasn't around getting money. Like I could always work a job, I could always get a job. I had hustles. I always did events. A lot of y'all know me from my events and being there. And I've always made money, but being able to make money and having a good relationship or a good outlook on money, a good thought process about it is two completely different things. And again, because the household I grew up in was Christian based, it was a lot of viewing or a lot of perspective on money being a negative thing. Again, money being the root of all evil. And then with me going down my spiritual path, like being as heavy into it as it was, I always had the perception based on that trauma that you can't really be spiritual and be have money. Like that's like, oh man, that's a internal conflict. But the reality is completely different. In fact, it's the opposite. The people who are really, 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 truly spiritual have a lot of money because it costs to be spiritual. Like it does, it costs a lot. And having access to wealth is having access to freedom as well and having access to choices. It's higher vibration. But you have to be aware of how the financial and wealth game actually works so you can actually pull on that energy. And you got to have a good relationship with money. Like don't see it as, like something that is used for only like whores and OnlyFans and crackheads and just negative buying drugs and yeah, doing evil, because people do so much evil stuff for, that currency and for that lifestyle. But again, like I said earlier, it's like the sun. The sun shines on everybody the same way. What you do with that sunlight is on you. Some people growing their food, some people cleanse their water, some people clean their crystals, some people like to bathe in it. And for some people, it's not good for them. So it just depends on what you're doing, how you're using money, or how you're using it. Now, back to this, dealing with the trauma. That was my trauma, and I had to do a lot of shadow work around that to establish a new, better relationship with money, you know. So I say that to say, explore your own trauma, identify your pain points. You know what keeps you up at night and the thoughts in your head. You know the experiences that you have had before in your life, the things that you probably don't talk to people about, you know, but you consistently think about, the things that you're consistently working on to better yourself. Identify those pain points and, you know, explore that trauma because it's the only way that you're going to actually be able to defeat it and work, make it work for you, you know, use it as a fuel on some Saturn energy. So after you explore your trauma and identify the pain points, learn what the triggers are. Learning what triggers you, identify the cause and effects. So you identify the cause and effects by exploring the trauma. And when you explore the trauma and identify the pain points, when you come across something, is going to cause something, is going to trigger something. It can usually be emotional based or it be a thought. And once that thought happens, you know, you're going to feel some type of way based on that pain that you are relooping and replaying. And it basically reinforces a negative narrative on your psychological or your subconscious, you know. So you got to identify what the pain points is, then be aware of the cause and effects, which brings us to number three, developing coping skills, positive coping skills. I feel like this probably shouldn't have been number three, but let's stick with it. So, developing positive coping skills, which it says, and it does have a 74 efficiency in clinical settings. More of, you know, when you are dealing with therapists. Positive coping skills could be anything that you use to combat or deal with the present moment, you know. So personally, my coping skills evolve heavy around breathing exercises and positive reinforcement through thoughts. I use that in tandem with each other. The breathing slows down your heart rate and it slows down your mind, you know. So when something is triggering you emotionally, a lot of time it's hard for us to think because we are just being so overwhelmed by that flow of that emotion, you know. Some of us, it'll be manifesting as a negative thing like anxiety or sadness, depression. You know, you can be angry and frustrated. It can be a lot of rage. And for some of us, you know, it may show up in something that is not viewed as negative, but it'll look like you know, a laugh, but it'll be like a nervous laugh, or it'll be a laugh that is like you're not really laughing because it's funny, but you're laughing because it's not really anything else you can do. So yeah, develop positive coping skills. You know, you could do journal exercising. You could talk to someone, talk to a friend, talk to a specialist, talk to people who you think will give you positive feedback or will give you real feedback, but also who you feel you can trust and you could feel you could be open with to share this information because it's sensitive, you know. So don't just share with anybody. Some people do like to share with strangers, though. They feel like it's better to share with people who they don't know, and because there's no connection. But you have to find out what works for you, you know. But you have to develop something to be able to cope. And the last thing is you're going to process the emotions and thoughts. So after you identify what's causing the, you know, the pain points and how the pain points are affecting you, and you do your little coping skills, you know, you breathe, you journal it down, you know, you write about it, you talk to somebody, then you reflect. You go and reflect and you process those thoughts and emotions, and you reflect on how they connect because now you want to start to be put up those barriers to stop them from actually happening. You You know, you want to put up those emotional barriers and start to gain emotional control. So you can take control of your life and so you're mindful of how you operate instead of having people just, you know, push your buttons all day and you spazzing out left, right, and center. Don't do that. You know, gain emotional control. And this definitely will come in handy for those who have children. That's because they like to push buttons. Those little people, man, they can say some stuff. All right, moving on to the next thing. Now, for the opposite of trauma, you know, you dealing with the pleasurable sides. You know, your gifts, your skills, experience, and passion. So, the first thing is your gifts. Your gifts will be the things that you are born with, you know, the things that you come into this world already capable of being able to do. For some of these gifts, they may be in your DNA, you know, it may be part of your bloodline, like genetic or epigenetics. It may be a skill that has been passed down, you know, from generation to generation. Like if you grew up in you know, a family that loves to sing and dance. You know, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have some creative singing and dancing skills, maybe lyrical. You know, who knows how it would manifest, but 9 times out of 10, it'll be in the same realm. So identify the gifts. The skills are the things that you learn, you know, the things that you become skillful at over time. And skills and experience go hand in hand because the more experience you have with those skills, the better those skills become. So, writing, reading, doing a sport, whether it's physical, mental, regardless of whatever it is, you're developing these skills. And the last thing is your passion. Your passion is your fuel, something that you just get excited about all day. You could do it all day, 24/7, and not even be drained. And if you are drained, you'll still get back and do it again. Find your passion. So let's go over these real quick. Experience lead led impact, turning life lessons into contribution. So the things that you are doing, again, I said skills and experience goes together hand in hand. When you have a certain amount of skills, with time in that skills, you can give those skills back to the world, you know, and you can help other people solve their problems, and they will pay you for it handsomely. So that's a different thing. Give back to the world. Skill mastery, developing your hidden talents. Now, sometimes your gifts can work with your skills, and it may be something that you were born with, just born able to do at a good level, and something that you actually practice and have experience with over time. It came and made something better, you know. Now, if you add a passion to that, man, you got to try the quadfecta, or is it a trifecta? The quadfecta, you know, so you can do the most because it's something that it's your gifts, your experience that you had with those skills, and your passion. You know, like you're gonna do amazing things with that. So passion discovery. Find out what truly drives you. Find your fuel. You know, find your light, your northern light. And when you put those things together, man, you're gonna have a incredible combination. So definitely highlight on that. Now, I was going to say again, make sure y'all reach out if y'all need assistance on any of these things. I know a lot of communities, a lot of people who will, regardless, whatever it is that you're trying to work on, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, I'm certain I will be able to point you in the right direction and will be able to get you to someone who can help you get to what you're trying to achieve, if it's not myself personally. And that brings us to the next category and the last one. Social mindfulness and awareness. You got to be mindful of your environment and who you are with in that environment and who you have in your environment that you create. Your space, your you know your comfort zone. So, boom, let's see. Energy audit. Identify relationship dynamics that drain your power. Recognize patterns that no longer serve your growth. So, when you identify relationships and these patterns, again, we was talking about earlier how relationships is not just intimacy between your, you know, your lovers, but it extends internally and externally. It extends to the people who you are spending time with, whether it be for your own personal reasons or business related, like coworkers or, you know, business projects, people who you're doing collaborations with. You got to be mindful of how the energy transaction is playing out. Like, are you pouring into them just to where you're drained out, or are they just pouring into you and it's overwhelming you, or is it a good balance in exchange? Like, are y'all watering each other? To keep it balanced, and it's not just, again, just your peers or your friends. It goes with everybody who you with, everybody who you're around. Be mindful of those places and those people. Like, if you with somebody and only thing y'all do when y'all kick it is just drinking bullshit, then it's like, if that's what you want to do, then that's cool. But if that's not what you want to do, then you probably shouldn't just be kicking it with that person so much, or like that. If that's not what you want to do. But if that's what you want to do, then go ahead and continue it. Um, which also brings to the next thing: setting boundaries. Boundary framework: set boundaries in relationships so you eliminate energy vampires. Protect your energy while maintaining composure. So, like above an energy audit, you want to see who or what is either feeding you or taking away from you. And after you do that, you got to set those boundaries, for both. You got to set boundaries for people that's giving too much, and you got to set boundaries for people that's taking too much, because you don't want to be overwhelmed, but you don't want to be drained either. You got to find balance. Balance is key. So you have to find balance, and balance for you. Balance looks completely different for everybody else, and that's part of the energy audit. You have to be aware of how they operate, because they may not operate exactly like you, even if y'all like doing the same things. You got to be real mindful of that. Everybody operates differently. It may be operates similarly, but it may not be the same exact thing. Now, after you do set these boundaries, whether it's you're new meeting people, or it's people that you already know, connect with them. A connection ritual. Spookism ritual is just a consistent practice, something that you're doing religiously over and over and over and over. That's a ritual. So, improve relationship quality with social engagement practices. Create deeper bonds through intentional interaction. This could be anything from hiking, working out, talking it up for about a business deal, or business goals. If you do want to go socialize at like a lounge, or I wouldn't say like a bar, but maybe a nice restaurant, hell, even a winery, and you have these social outings, but you're connecting and you're building. You actually, you're growing. It's not as much draining as it is giving, and you're moving forward and you're being productive. It's beneficial for you. So use these type of things, to connect and build and grow. Yeah, your network is your net worth, as they say. And that brings us to the last point: community building. Create a supportive community. Surround yourself with people who uplift and inspire you. When you do the connection ritual, or those practices, and you find these people that you can connect with, you start to integrate them into, a network, a group, a tribe. You're growing. And the more people that you have on that network, the more stuff you guys can get done. So be mindful of that. You have to be mindful of your social settings. Also, too, because um, this also goes into the environment, being mindful of the environment, the trends that happen on multiple levels, in your area, as far as like on the psychological level. Examples: a lot of people have a lot more road rage nowadays than they did, a couple of years ago. It's a lot more people driving crazy and wacky, especially if you're in the Bay Area, like they're driving like super, super crazy. And once upon a time, a lot of people out here could drive. Now it's like not that many people could drive. They are just doing anything. So you got to be mindful when you stepping outside, like it was a teacher who had passed a couple of weeks ago. Was walking down the street with his coworker, and he had got hit by a oncoming car that went onto the pavement, and it was trying to flee from the police. Lost his life just like that. So you got to be mindful of your environment. Be mindful where you at, and just place yourself in better environments, in better places. Be mindful of that. So you can place yourself in a correct environment to grow. Like it's like a plant, or like a garden. Your garden not gonna grow right if you don't set it up rightly. If it's not the right environment, you're not gonna have a good garden. Nothing's gonna grow in a shitty environment. That's not how things work. So if you really want to grow and you really want to better yourself, evolve, you got to make sure that you are placing yourself in the right environment with the right people. So, yeah. And, but it didn't press the button. Hang on. What a minute. I don't know why I didn't do that. I'm trying to. Here we go. So, the benefits, measurable benefits of doing these things. I'm going to zoom through this because we are cutting it close on the time, and I shouldn't have went this long. Number one, stress reduction. Lower cortisol levels after 8 weeks of practicing these things. Your cortisol levels is in your adrenal glands. It produces your fight or flight. It's when you get mad and huffing and puffing, like we're talking about again, road rage, people driving, blowing the horn, doing anything, cutting it off. Man, they got high cortisol levels. What you want to do, keep your cortisol levels low. Unless it's when you actually need to use it. It shouldn't be on 24/7. That's not what it made for. Everything works how it's supposed to work. And don't allow society to force it to work in a way that it wasn't. Stress your body out, and a stress vehicle breaks down. Speaking of stress and breaking down, number two, better sleep. Improve sleep quality based on participant data. So people who have practiced these things, we know that this works. It keeps these levels down. It improves your sleep pattern because it's not as much um mental gog or fog or crap, you feel me, on your mind when you're going to sleep. So you have a better sleep because it's less clutter there. Um, Confident decisions, increase ability to make clear, aligned choices. So because you're more mindful, you are mindful of your choices because you are mindful of the actions and reactions, the causes, the effects, and how things work down the line because you're paying attention. You're using critical thinking. You are aware because you are watching. Again, you're paying attention. You're watching, you're listening. You are scanning, looking for things, everything. You are aware. Number four, favorite one, income growth. Average increases around 6 months of practice. So again, when you get into investing and start looking into other things and you're becoming more conscious of your awareness, you are going to be putting more money away because you're cutting out a lot of things that you don't necessarily need, whether it be from your relationships with people, again, internally to your relationship with yourself will get better, so you're making better financial decisions about where you're putting your money and your investments to. You're not just going to be quick to go burn through, your finances because you're more consciously aware with it. You're still going to have fun. You're going to spend money, but you're not going to just be burning it. When it comes to the trauma, your some of the trauma is what holds us back, from doing a lot of things, from taking risks, from actually getting our money up or actually learning about finances and learning about economics and learning about investing in gold, again, investing in silver, investing in cryptocurrency or stocks or bonds or indices, futures, whatever it is that you're investing in. Again, real estate, commercial rates, or REITs, anything, whatever it is, you are able to put a better foot forward because you are consciously aware of the trauma that may be barriers holding you back. And then after that, you also your gifts. So becoming more mindful of your gifts, your skills, your the experiences that you have and your passions, then you're going to make more money with those things because you can monetize it. You can monetize those things and make money, especially in the age of AI. AI, man, you could put together a lot of stuff very quick like that. So those are things to be mindful of. And last, your social circle. Again, your network is your net worth. If you're around people that's on bullshit all day, then you're gonna be on bullshit. But if you're around people that is moving and growing and building and they're moving forward and they are becoming more and more successful and more financially free, um, and more economically aware, you will too, because they are going to bombard you with the information and make sure that you're up to par as well. So be mindful of those things, and that is number four. Boop, boop, boop. Reclaiming your power, the next steps. So, awareness, begin to notice the patterns, practice daily mindfulness exercises, and embodiment, living from your center of power. So, doing these things. You're aware, you practice, you embody. Aware, practice, embody. Aware and practice, embody. You do those things in rotation, consistently, rotation every day. And it doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit at a time, and you will see growth. You will see growth in anything that you do. You will see growth. So remember that. Be aware, practice, and embody it. Now, your journey starts here. This is the final slide. I know this was so long. This was longer than what I thought it would be, which is crazy because when I practice it, it was shorter. So I don't know why it's longer. If you are interested in joining our 30-day mindfulness challenge starting on Monday, click the link in my bio or contact me directly at bay12370@gmail.com. It's not that many slots available. You can also schedule a one-on-one breakout session or breakthrough session. Only 10 slots for those. A couple people already, yeah, kind of already won, so it's really less than that. But I do want to work with people and I do want to help them grow. Like that's the reason of all of this, and all of this is I'm just want to give. I want to see people grow. I want to see people evolve, and I want to see them do better. So yeah, what it was something else. Yes, join our private community for ongoing support on your journey. Contact me for the community. You want to get in it, and we're gonna get some things done. Does anybody have any questions? I really do appreciate y'all for being here, man. I appreciate this, like for real, for real. We about to get ready to get up out of here, but if you have any questions, anybody got any questions, please let it be known. Or forever hold your peace. I'm not gonna be on here that long. So yeah. Yeah, if I don't see nothing, we gonna close this out. Again, we're gonna be doing this every twice a month, maybe every 2 weeks, bi-weekly. Spread the word. It's not going to be a big thing. I'm trying to keep this small and intimate and find people who actually really want to grow and really want to change their life and change their circumstances. Because this is not just, it's not super, super easy, but it's not super, super hard either. A lot of it is just doing it and being consistent. But I know that a lot of people do need a helping hand and they need somebody to give that push. And so the community is here for that push and for that helping hand. Ain't nobody got no questions, so we gonna go ahead and get ready to shake out. I appreciate y'all being here, and I will see y'all on the next one. Boop, boop, boop.